What do you do with an alcoholic who won't stop drinking but keeps asking you for money or stealing from you? You cut them off, you create boundaries, you stop participating. So, what do you do with a government doing the same thing?
Like a lot of people right now, I am processing everything that's coming out about the Epstein file. And it's difficult to know how to react to something so horrendous, right? So antisocial, so against humanity, so deplorable. It's hard to talk about because these are kind of things that you know exist out in the world and out in the landscape, but that you don't ever actually think you'll be confronted with as the foundation for a culture in which your life exists, right? A government so deeply entrenched in crime of this manner. And I think for some people, we are just more attuned to being skeptical or distrusting about larger, powerful institutions. A lot of us having a similar understanding of what is moral and what is immoral. And I feel like where I'm struggling to understand, I don't even want to say neighbors or my fellow people, but maybe power is that lack of mutual understanding of morality. And it's difficult to even point to any one person. Like, I wouldn't even point to the president, to be quite honest, and say that is an immoral, bad person. I look at more the structures and the influences that have built and created somebody like that. And that is wealth and power. And that would be kind of the outward facing mask of it. But the actual maybe shadow of that would be insecurity or fear, feeling less than. I think only people who are wildly insecure and afraid are the people who chase power and money and status to somehow substantiate their existence and exert power over other people. And it's devastating when those people actually get into a place of power. A much smaller example of this would be an alcoholic. Or as an alcoholic, I lived in fear of just existing and being found out and thinking that everyone could see what a horrible piece of shit I was, to be quite honest. And drinking gave me a sense of confidence, false confidence, a temporary confidence to go out there, make new friends and be social until it actually isolated me so far. It was like a pendulum that swung so far the other direction from trying to be that social person and needing the alcohol to do it and drowning the fear of insecurity and fear to going the other way and just being alone and being secluded and isolated and still needing to drink to just drown out loudness of that insecurity and that bad self-esteem and that sense of unworthiness. And it was also reflected in my relationships with others. I wouldn't call people back and I would get into arguments with my family and with loved ones. I would manipulate people. I would lie to people. I would steal from people. I would try really hard to convince other people that they were not seeing what they were seeing. And that was an alcoholic who was lying, stealing, and stealing from them. And so now you take that same motivation, that same struggle, and you amplify it and you give it a ton of power and money. And it is running the United States. And again, it's not just that one person or that one political party or that one, it's that a disease that has actually infiltrated a society and it has now infiltrated people with actual power. As a drunk over here living in a little apartment in San Diego, I impact just the sphere of people around me. But when you have that level of fear and insecurity, and it's now motivating an entire political system and government system, and people who have the power to pass laws and enforce them and do everything else, now we're getting into some tricky territory. And that's why I know that I'm seeing a lot of people in spiritual communities saying this is a moral failing, this is a moral dilemma. And that would be like saying that the alcoholic is immorally defective person. It's like they're not. They're doing the best that they can with what they've got out of pure survival, out of a really limiting belief system and out of fear. And that's all this is happening, but on a much larger and more devastating scale. People who see that and can see the corruption and can see the deception and can see the immorality begin to gaslight themselves into saying that there's nothing that we can do about it. And there's a sense of defeatedness and a sense of powerlessness. And that is also a facade, because if you really start to place a government on a pedestal or a group of people on a pedestal and begin to believe that they're untouchable and begin to believe that they will continue to just get away with things, we're just perpetuating the thing that we don't want. And we're just perpetuating the same thing over and over again. So, what do you do with the alcoholic that won't stop drinking but keeps asking you for money or stealing from you? You cut them off, right? You create boundaries. You start saying, I'm not participating in that anymore. So what do you do with the governments that's doing the same? We have to somehow, as a society, as a moral seeking culture, begin to draw those same boundaries. And these boundaries are not punishments. They're not hatred. They're a clear distinction of I am choosing to no longer participate in this system, which not only doesn't support my best interests, but actively acts against my best interests. And what does that look like? I have zero idea. I would love to know if you have any idea. Do outside of God to get something, you'll have to continue to do outside of God to keep it. And so whenever I think that I want something and I think about what it's going to take to get something, I always think, will I be happy maintaining that sense of whatever in order to keep it? Which is why this idea of greed and stepping on others to get something doesn't sit well with me. It's not necessarily because I'm a great person, but because I'm an alcoholic. And if I continue to step on people over and over again, I know I'm going to get resentful at myself and at others for how they retaliate, and at myself for putting myself in that position. And I'm bound for a relapse at some point. So I just rather not. It's just much simpler for me to do things the hard way and the more relationship building way, a collaborative way. I can get a lot of things. We can all get what we want if we work with each other. For some reason, we got convinced that we were not powerful and that all the power lay at the head of a government in Washington, D.C., which most people never even traveled to. So it's crazy to me that we've allowed ourselves to be manipulated, that we've allowed ourselves to be codependent on a very abusive power. I do know that there is a solution out there. I am pretty sure it's not an easy one. We need to wake up and take back the power that we have outsourced to a government that does not have our best interest in mind. And again, this can be done very lovingly, very peacefully. And the first step, honestly, is opting out of this dynamic of right and left, wrong or right, Democrat or Republican. That is all imaginary. None of that actually exists unless we continue to participate in that and continue to make it mean something. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and what you think the possible solution could be and what it would take to reset morality in this country and with each other. Anyway, that's all for this rambling today. I love you guys, and I hope you leave a comment and share your thoughts and ideas. I love you. Bye.